Ange, thank you very much for your time. How do you build from midweek? Because last week you came in the back of a good result as well, and you couldn't build on the weekend. So what did you learn from that?
Yeah, there are challenges there, I think, and it's always a bit more tricky when you're playing away. We obviously, we played in Germany, and it took a lot out of us that night. You just have to look at sort of Hoffenheim's results since then. I think, they drew with Frankfurt at home. They won last night away from home in the Europa, so they were a good side. And then, you don't get back from Germany till like 2 in the morning, and it takes its toll, particularly when we can't rotate the squad, when you've got the same players sort of backing up, which is the position we're in. So, last night we tried to manage the minutes of the players. Sonny, Kulusevski, Bentancur, Basuma, Van der Ven, they all played just 45 minutes. So, we've tried to sort of manage their minutes a little bit because we know it's going to be a big test. Brentford are a good side, physically a strong side. So, hopefully we can compensate.
Yeah, with Micky back, really good news. But how different is it to manage his minutes, especially considering what a key player he is and the position he plays and how physical he is as well, because he's very important in progressing with the ball.
Absolutely, and you saw that last night. I mean, I know it was his first game back, but just not just him as an individual, what he does for the team. Just a real kind of calmness about the way we defend, first of all, because with his defensive capabilities, he's a big, strong lad, and he's obviously got his speed, but aside from that, he's got a real physicality, which I think we've been missing a little bit. And then, like you said, with the ball, he's really accomplished. So really important, but he's missed a lot of football. And obviously we've got to balance the need for him to be back in the team with making sure he stays with us right to the end. So, it's still a case of managing his time this coming week. But the positive thing for us is he got through really well last night and feels good.
With him being this physical player, is there something more specific that you need to do because it's Micky, because he has this style, this physical style?
No, I don't think so. I think he's worked hard himself through rehab, and we've taken our time because of obviously the extent of the injury. But we don't want to stop the way he plays or the kind of strengths he has, and some of them are, testing himself physically because that's where he's elite. So it's a fine line. But I think even with him, I think as he gets more experienced, he learns his body better and how to manage his body a lot better. And like I said, I'm really hopeful that he'll have a strong finish to the season.
Of course, throughout your career, you had to deal with injured players and injury crisis. But did you learn something different specifically from this one, potentially the biggest injury crisis of your
absolutely.
career?
No, this has definitely been extreme. The thing we kind of, I think the difficult thing for us is they all happened in a cluster where, they kind of hit us in one position or a couple of positions, and it was a number of players, which then has the flow-on effect of burdening the players who are left. And, that kind of cycle is hard to get out of because, you're missing key players and then all sort of from a similar position, and then you're burdening the ones who are there playing every week, and obviously their performance can't be what it wants to be. And it's been great that we're in this position in terms of the cup competitions, but that's outside our games as well. We've had a great Carabao Cup run, obviously 2 extra games in Europe this year. All these kind of things, have been a real challenge for us. And you always learn things along the way, but it's definitely the most sort of extreme situation I've had to face.
Is it fair to say that you necessarily need a larger squad to play your style of play?
Yeah, potentially. I think with the way the calendar is now, I think there are things that are kind of changing. The game's evolving all the time, and I think the one thing you kind of learn lessons along the way, but I think one of the things we probably need to look at, I think not just us as a club, I think most clubs, is the off-season of players. Just how much real recovery and rest they're getting, and how much we can sort of prepare them for a season ahead. And I think, everyone's kind of got this set schedule of doing things. I think for us, particularly when we're looking at off-season next year, is just having a look at our players and seeing, have they recovered? What have they done in the off-season? Have they played in tournaments? Does that mean, you know, we don't use them at the start of the season. We give them a proper pre-season. I think these are the things that we're probably, you know, we'll be looking at moving forward.
Does it upset you or has any effect on you when people relate injuries to the way you guys play?
It doesn't upset me. I mean, I don't, you know, I think some of it has some sort of correlation, but I mean, you know, when you're looking at sort of guys like Vicario or Dom or, you know, Micky, who was out with an illness, or, you know, we had all these other things. We had Bentancur out for 7 weeks, suspended at the time the injury crisis hit. So there's been this perfect storm of circumstances. Now, people always want, you know, to kind of have a cause and an effect and sort of somebody to blame when things go wrong. But I think with us, some of it can be attributed to the way we play our football, but not all of it. You know, some of it has just been circumstance that can hit anybody at any club. My role in that and the club's role in that is to kind of sit back and really say, okay, well, what areas, you know, do we need to adjust in what we do, and, you know, what areas, you know, can we improve in? But I've always tried to create teams that play on the edge. I think you have to, and when you're playing that sort of football and you're always on the edge, there's always going to be some times where it doesn't work out.
And with the injuries, the youngsters played a big part and became this big story. You obviously worked with Australia's under-17s and under-20s. So how do you see your role when you're playing these youngsters and sometimes in circumstances where you weren't necessarily going to play them or you would wait a little bit? How is your role in that?
Yeah, I think my role in that is just to make sure that, you know, we're providing the right environment and support for them. I think with young players, you know, I've often said that all you can do is offer them an opportunity, but the one thing you don't know is when that opportunity will come. You know, and I've always said to young players, you know, be ready. You know, you don't know. I can't tell you that you're going to play 5 games this year and 10 games next year. You know, because probably Micky and Archie and Lucas have played a lot more than even they probably anticipated, but they've played and they've done well, so they've embraced that. And my role within that is to try and make sure that we don't put any limit to what they can achieve and what they can do, and give them that opportunity to grow within that context, but also understand that they still are only 18 or 17 or, you know, and it's not just their age, but their experience. They don't have that experience, so they're going to be mistakes along the way they're going to make, and provided we support them through that and you know, don't put too much pressure and expectation on them, I think they can grow. And sometimes through necessity like us, it could prove to be a real positive thing, you know, because I think they're more mature than most 18-year-olds, have had more experience than most 18-year-olds, and they've handled themselves really well through that time.
Yeah, and 3 days for the transfer window to close. You've been very serene considering the circumstances every time you got asked about the transfer window.
In public I have, yeah.
How do you deal with these frustrations? Because, of course, if it's frustrating for the fans, it must be frustrating for you as well.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I mean, I've never, you ask the players, the one thing I say to them, the most useless emotion in life is frustration. It doesn't do anyone any good, you know. I'd rather people get angry, or anger means action, or, you know, they're upset, or, you know, frustration. I kind of try and park that as much as I can. There are some things that, you know, as a full manager, you're not in control, and you have to trust people and have faith in people to work that side of things. And I think my responsibility still lies with the group that's here and are trying to kind of steer us through this difficult period. And I'd hate to think that, you know, when they're with me, that I'm not always there or totally there. I need to be totally there, and that's what I try and do. But yeah, you know, there's, you know, you kind of want things to happen, you want things to push along, but you also, you know, you have faith and trust in the people who are in charge of those areas to get things done.
Yeah, as you mentioned, how would you define your relationship with the board? Because you've said it a few times that you don't feel isolated, but at the same time, you're not directly involved all the time with the transfer talk. So how did you feel that things shaped this way?
Look, I think, you know, I've obviously been doing this role for quite a while, you just try and fit into the model that you've kind of been brought into. You know, at other clubs I was more involved in that side of things, but at other clubs I haven't been involved in. And you know, my role again is to try and fit in with what's best for the football club. The one thing I try and do is have real kind of real open and honest dialogue with the people. If I'm not, you know, more involved in those areas, so that they clearly know what I need and sort of what I want, and are constantly, you know, available, you know, in those kind of areas. So, you know, I mean, when I was talking about sort of feeling isolated, I mean, I think for me the more important thing is the people I do deal with on a daily basis, the players, the coaches, the staff. I think it's really important for me that, you know, they still believe in what we're doing, because it'd be very easy for me to kind of lose my focus and try and focus on these areas I have no control, and then all of a sudden I've lost the group that's most important. And for me, that's the playing group and the people I work with.
Yeah, you mentioned feelings, and with the league form that you addressed a lot of times already, how's it been for you to deal with that? Because you're clearly a person who feels his feelings, you know, so...
Yeah, it's not easy. You know, I love winning and I hate losing, and you know, there have been many periods in my career where I've, you know, sort of gone through these runs, but of poor results and where we're at. So,
and questioning you staying in the job.
Yeah, that's okay, but I mean, that's again I know people sort of get really sort of fascinated with, you know, how people deal with that kind of thing, but once you get used to being in a sort of public occupation, you kind of deal with it one way or another. Either you let it drive you and let it motivate you, or you kind of need to sort of shut it all off and run your own race. And I've always done that. Whether people think I'm doing a great job or I'm not doing a great job isn't going to dictate how I feel about how I'm going and what I'm doing. And I think there's always going to be scrutiny, particularly in football these days, and particularly around managers. And without having to delve too deeply in it, I'm sure there's a lot of people, probably the majority, who think I'm not doing a good job and I shouldn't be in the position I am. But the flip side of that is, some of those people may have a different opinion if things turn. And either way, they're not in my life, so I'm not really concerned about it.
Is it fair to say that your season, Spurs season, and your season as well as a manager will be defined by the cup competitions?
No, not necessarily. I still think we need to, address our league position and our league form, and we need to try and finish the season really strong there. But there's no doubt we've worked really hard and got ourselves in a great position to try and have success. And every year you start the season, I believe, with the ambition to have success, bring trophies to the club, especially this club. And we've got ourselves in a position where that is still very much a possibility. So that's where our focus is.
And finally, what would be a successful Premier League season, given the circumstances, given the position right now?
Look, hard to say. I think from where we are right now, the most immediate concern is to make sure we start getting some consistency in results and moving up the table. Certainly where we started the season, our ambitions about where we wanted to finish, were well short of that. And the only way we can address that is sort of focusing on the immediate task of, trying to, get a result at Brentford and sort of rectifying where we are. Thank you.